Hello, kiddos. It's cold out today, isn't it? I'm recording this on Friday after it snowed last night. The dreaded S word. Okay, we're going to be starting a new book called Bunnicula. And before you start Bunnicula, I want you to know that it's kind of a funny book. I think you'll like it. Kind of a refreshing change from all the sad books we've been reading, or dramatic books we've been reading. This one's kind of funny. And it's sort of fairy tale-ish because it's got talking animals and good guys and bad guys. So before we start that, I wanted to do a different fairy tale thing with you because before you left and we had to close school, we were talking about different kinds of perspective that you could write from. First person means that you're writing about yourself, about something that happened to you, and you use words like, I did this, and we went to my house, and I saw, and I said. And so that's first person. We haven't talked about second person, which we might later if we have time. But third person would be a narrator watching the story and telling what's happening from outside of the story, looking in and saying, oh, and now this is happening, and they did this, and he did this, but never using the word I because the narrator's not in the story. He's watching the story. So that's called third person. So we're going to read a story that you all know very well, The Three Little Pigs. But The Three Little Pigs is told from the narrator's point of view. He watches what's happening. He watches the wolf come and do all the bad wolf things. And what happens to the poor, sweet little piggies. And he tells that story. My hair is crazy today. The story I'm going to read you today is told from first person, meaning one of the characters is telling it from their own point of view, from everything that happened according to them. So the storyteller will be saying things like, I did this, and I said this. And it's from a different point of view because the Three Little Pigs makes the Three Little Pigs look innocent and they didn't do anything wrong. And the poor wolf, well, in the story we're going to read, it's from the wolf's point of view. It's called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And you might have, I'm trying to get that glare out of there, you might have read this on your own sometime. It's kind of funny. The way it's written, he uses funny language and tells funny things. But the gist of the story is the wolf says, I was framed. I didn't do this. This is wrong. And so we're going to read this story from his point of view. Same story, Three Little Pigs story. Houses get blown down, all that stuff. But he's explaining, oh, it's not my fault, you guys. Sometimes at school, maybe not this class because you guys were perfect, but sometimes at school there were two kids that would come in from recess and say, ah, he punched me. And then I'd talk to the other kid and he'd say, no, I didn't punch him. He was charging at me and I tripped and hit him in the face with my hand when I fell. Two different stories, two different perspectives. So that's kind of what we're going to see with this story today. He's going to tell the same story again. Like I said, the houses are still blowing down. But he's got a whole different explanation for how it all happened. So, here we go. The true story of the Three Little Pigs. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because my side has never been told. I'm the wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. So here's the pictures. There's Alexander Wolf. So we call him A Wolf. And then he talks about it's not his fault. He eats. Look at the cheeseburger thing. It's bunnies, and there's a little mouse tail, and there's some kind of little hand sticking out. But, like I was saying, this whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is just about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold, and I ran out of sugar. So here he is baking. Kind of like me baking the cookies in the video. I didn't sneeze in them, though. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't very bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So there he is. Da, 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 just cruising down the road, going to the pig's house. So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. Not my fault. I didn't want to just walk in someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in?" And nobody answered. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar from my dear old granny's cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. See, look at him, acting like he's all innocent. Just accidentally the door fell in, you know. And I sneezed a great sneeze. And that's the great sneeze. I think some of you have sneezed great sneezes like that in class before. And you know what? That whole dang straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was that first little piggy, dead as a doornail. He was home the whole time and wouldn't answer the door. Well, it seemed like a shame to just leave a perfectly good ham dinner laying there in the straw. That would be wasteful. So I ate it up. Just think of it as a big cheeseburger that was laying there and you saw it. So there's the piggy's butt sticking up. First, there's the picture of after he sneezed. And then there's the one, that might be delicious. Well, I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house, and the next neighbor just happened to be the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on this stick house, but nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled back, "Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." So do you see how he takes what happened and kind of changes it to make it sound like he didn't do anything wrong? I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, wolf's honor. So there he is grabbing the doorknob. I don't know why he's grabbing the doorknob, you guys, because the piggy said, "Don't come in." And then he killed him again. This wolf story isn't very believable, is it? Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Just think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better. And I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. These pigs aren't very social. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf, and don't bother me again." So there he is, this fat tummy, just finished eating the whole second pig. And then he goes to the next house, and that's all it shows is the wolf, the back of the wolf's head. Talk about rude! He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup from my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on again. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. The third little pig called out, "And your old granny can sit on a pin!" So he's making the little pig sound like a real rude, snotty little thing. I'm not sure if that's true or not. How about you? So there he is. Look how they make the pig look inside the little peek-out window. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the pig's door. I was so mad. Excuse me. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene, so it looked bad. So if you see here, there's reporters are there. And look at the reporter has a pig foot. And it looks like the police are also some three little pig guys. So they do that to make it look like maybe they were on the pig side. And the rest, as they say, is history. It was in the papers. Everybody believed it. The news reporter found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner, which wasn't really my fault. I was just trying not to be wasteful. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story a bit with all that huff and puff and blow your house down stuff. And they made me into the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. He's in jail now. Okay, so that's the end of that story. You know the 3 little pigs story, and now you know the wolf side of the story. So your job today is to take a fairy tale with a good guy and a bad guy, or good guys and a bad guy, or something like that, and tell it from the bad guy's point of view, just like this one did. You can make him truly innocent, and the good guys in the story are fake good guys, and they're tricking everybody by being sneaky behind people's backs. And then when people are watching, they're acting really nice and sweet, or you could make it the good guys really are the good guys, and the bad guy is kind of lying, like it seems like this story is. It seems like maybe he was not being overly truthful so that he could try to stay out of trouble. So you can do it either way. You can make your bad guy really the good guy, or you can make your bad guy just making excuses through his whole story. Here's some story choices you could have. Little Red Riding Hood. Again, that's a wolf, bad guy. Hansel and Gretel. They have a bad stepmother, which I hate that some of the fairy tales make stepmothers bad. My sister-in-law is a stepmother, and she's a fabulous stepmother. She's kind and good, and all stepmothers are. So I don't like that whole mean stepmother thing. The Little Mermaid. In that story, I think the bad person is the octopus lady, or the octopus witch, or whatever she's called. Jack was really scared of her when he was little. You could do Snow White, and the the witch that gives her the poison apple is really just this sweet little lady, and she's been framed, and Snow White was trying just to catch herself a prince all along. You could do the Three Billy Goats Gruff, where the troll under the bridge is really not bad, and the three Billy Goats are mean and like trying to take over his land, or I don't know. You decide how you're going to do it. If you don't like any of those fairy tales, I will put a link up on the Things to Do page under Reading, and the link is called Storyberries.com. Storyberries.com has a whole bunch of fairy tales that you could go to. You click on one of the fairy tales and read it, and then see if you want to use one of those to do your reverse story, your other point of view story. So you're going to write your own fairy tale again, using one that's already been written, and you're going to write it from the bad guy's point of view. For example, that he or she has been framed and everybody's got the whole thing wrong. He's really good and the good guys are really the bad guys, that whole thing. So it's going to be 3 paragraphs, and I'm going to put this all on the website. Paragraph 1 is the introduction. You got your bad guy doing nothing wrong and comes upon the good characters. So in this story, the bad guy was doing nothing wrong. He was just making a cake and needed sugar, and so he happened upon the first little pig and then the second little pig. So that's the first paragraph, that you introduce the bad guy, and he's trying to tell you he's not really a bad guy, and he came upon these good guys for whatever reason. Paragraph 2, the problem arises. And in this story, it was that he sneezed and the house fell down. It wasn't really his fault at all. And the bad guy who's telling the story, saying, I'm innocent, the bad guy is trying to explain, it's not what you think. Or maybe the good guy is faking being good to trap him. That's paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 is your character is caught and the fake good guys get away with it, like it seems like it happened in this story. Or the fake good guys get found out that they're really bad and they get caught. So you decide, but that's how your story will go. You're going to write a fairy tale from the bad guy's point of view, just like we read in this story. Okay? Again, I will have the directions for the 3 paragraphs on the website. And if you go to the Things to Do page, you will see a button under Reading that is called Storyberries.com, and it has extra fairy tales if you don't want to use one of the choices I gave you. Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, The Little Mermaid, Snow White, The Three Billy Goats Gruff. I can think of some more fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty, things like that. So you decide, and today your job is to write 3 paragraph story. Not a very long story, not a whole book, just 3 paragraphs. And again, I keep repeating myself, the directions for how to do the paragraphs will be on the website. That's all for now. Thanks, guys. Have a fun time writing your stories. Bye-bye.